What's the most famous celebrity that's been at Lab?
It's gotta be Michael B. Jordan, dude. I don't know who else is there.
Well, you mentioned Rihanna before.
I mean, Rihanna's up there. Yeah, she's up there.
Is Michael B. Jordan over Rihanna?
Let's take that back.
Everyone.
Let's erase that. We weren't trying to create a restaurant, having a safe haven for everyone to really enjoy themselves. So we wanted to take that back and really just say, hey, we can do this for ourselves.
So you were in your 9-to-5. Was there a moment where you were just like, I can't do this anymore?
I was in finance for almost 10 years. For me, it was the moment when I thought that I was becoming someone else that I realized that I needed to step away and like kind of find like my inner happiness. I think happiness is like the main thing that people forget about.
Do you feel like with the right network, you can start a business in any industry?
Relationships with other business peers.
That's a great specification.
You know, like that's like we're meeting more people that are tapped into different industries. But what we've created at Linden, I see something completely different. I see what we've done with Lab, where there is a community building, where there are actors, writers, musicians, regular corporate people. They want a place to go to. They want a place where everyone knows their name.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Your Hero's Journey, a holistic business podcast that talks about all of the realistic insights on what it takes mentally, spiritually, and of course, tactically to become a successful business entrepreneur. On today's episode, I have Scott Williams, also better known as Scotty, who is the owner of Last Lap, Linden, LA, Moss, New York Chopped Cheese, and probably, I think, like 3 more businesses that I'm not even covering. He has been in this game for probably over about a decade now, I think we can say. And he's probably one of the most well-known restaurant owners in New York City. I am honored and humbled to have you, especially it being your first podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Sav.
Thank you. So we'll start off with just doing kind of a little quick round of rapid fire questions. I want the audience to just have a little top level understanding of who you are and what your background is. So what is your ethnic background and where were you raised?
Well, I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, and then, moved over many places with my mother and eventually landed in New York, Brooklyn specifically, Crown Heights, when I was about 8 years old.
Okay, and you were raised in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I was raised in Brooklyn through high school and then moved to Lower East Side right after.
Okay, nice. And how long have you been in the restaurant business for?
I've been in terms of ownership, I've been on the restaurant business for about 8 to 9 years.
Okay, nice.
I'd say 10 years just to be rounded.
Okay, you know, full decade.
For hospitality, it's probably almost 2 decades.
Okay, nice, awesome. And would you consider yourself a person of spirituality, of faith, religious?
I am spiritual. I definitely grew up in a religious household. I still get all the little texts every day, from her. But for me, I haven't really gotten to church a long time, but I definitely have faith.
Awesome, love that. That's the most important part. And how many businesses do you currently have and what are they?
In terms of like full on, you've mentioned a lot of the names of things I'm a part of and have helped create. I'm not going to relay everything in the docket, but I think you got it right on the head. Last Lap is the baby. It's the thing that started it all for me and my business partners. And then there's also, from that, came out New York Chopped Cheese. Our first foray in Los Angeles with my business partner, Anthony, and everyone else that's involved in that. And from that, you have Linden, and Linden and ... have, in its infancy, the first 8 months, have proven to be really, it's a great place.
And Linden and ... are under the same
They're separate.
umbrella.
They're under the same roof.
Okay.
But for the most part, they're separate entities.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And let's take it back to the beginning. What ultimately led you to the restaurant business? Because before you started in finance, right? So what made you make the switch?
Well, before finance, there was, I think, just the idea of being outside and eating and drinking and having those experiences that kind of like change your idea of what not being home is, right? You're looking for an escape from home and you want to have the best experience and kind of transport it to some other place. And for me, that's what it was, the idea of doing it for yourself, being your own boss. That's like the biggest thing I think people think about is like, how can I make my own decisions? How can I impart my tradition and my upbringing to the world and everyone else.
It's interesting. It sounds like it's both the freedom, but also a place to call home outside of your home.
Yep.
And so you feel like essentially you wanted to create that same feeling for other people. Is that what led you to it ultimately?
Well, I think it's experiences. I mean, I've had many great culinary experiences where it comes from. Obviously, it comes from the food. It comes from the thing that you're craving initially, but the vibe, the actual hospitality behind it, the service, understanding all those elements put together, and that gives you the overarching experience that takes you away from the everyday. When you leave work, what do you want? You want to like kick back with your friends and tell stories and enjoy each other's presence, right? And what's the best place to do that? With a place that's playing good music, that has great food and excellent drinks. So that's the basis of what we wanted to create.
Yeah. Was there one particular moment where you weren't yet in the culinary industry, but you were sitting somewhere and you were like, wow, I really want to recreate this?
Ooh.
And if so,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I feel like there are many places I've been in that
Can you name a couple of them?
I think for me, I mean, one of the first places I worked was the Odeon in Tribeca, in terms of the hospitality industry, and to see what that place means to downtown Manhattan, and for 4+ decades, what it's done, with the different walks of life, from artists to actors to musicians to just regular people. It's been a safe haven for people to eat and drink and, really just congregate, and have a good time.
Awesome. So you were in your 9-to-5 in a corporate job at the time in finance. Was there a moment where you were just like, I can't do this anymore, I need to create a plan to exit?
Well, I feel like I was in finance for almost 10 years, in my early 20s. And that experience is mind-blowing, in itself, just being around big numbers and the mental scapes of the people that have to deal with those big numbers, and, for me, you kind of feel like you're trying to be someone else, and when, for me, it was the moment when I thought that I was becoming someone else, that I realized that I needed to step away and like kind of find like my inner happiness. And I think happiness is like the main thing that people forget about, in terms of longevity in your life.
I was just reading this book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and one of the quotes that they had was, money provides freedom, but it does not provide happiness. It's real.
It's real.
You realize that you can't do this anymore. You need something that is a little bit more fulfilling for you. What are your next steps? Are you looking for a team? Are you trying to figure out, okay, I know I want to do a restaurant business. Now I need to find a chef. What were the next steps in your minds?
Well, really, there are a few people that I've been around for years that I trust, and that I consider family, like more than just friends, family. And then I met a few more along the way, in these last 10 years, basically. And, to commit to make a team, to have faith in each other, it takes a lot, and the team that we have now, we play sports, so we kind of like saw each other in different eyes, and trusted each other. We play basketball and football, but like on the basketball court, it's like there's a certain mentality that you have, and the team mentality, I saw us all aligned to make this next step with each other.
That's really interesting, especially as someone who's also played basketball for 10 years. There's something different when you play, like, for example, like when I played with my AAU team, like I grew up with them. So you have a chemistry, right? It's like,
you still love them.
I can, yeah, 100%. Like even when you lose and they mess up, but it's like you could be dribbling and you know exactly where they're going to be without even looking. You can pass the ball. So you feel like that translates to your business acumen as well? Yeah,
I think it's my partnership. I don't know. I think there are certain people that can work together in that regard where we know each other's next move, right? We know each other's thinking. We communicate more than other people communicate. I think that's the biggest part. Being able to tell it as it is and not hold back and be completely honest with each other and so for the overarching success of each other. You know, we definitely want each other to succeed, and you know, we want to, you know, be each other's crutches, so to say, down the road.
So do you feel like you chose your team based off of relationships and trust, or was like the skill set incorporated
Skill
into
set
the
is
process?
definitely a big part of it.
Okay.
You know, we weren't amateurs in this industry. We definitely have, you know, years of experience in relationships, especially in New York City.
And who is the team, just for the clarity of the audience?
For Last Lap, and they're different teams for different entities, but for Last Lap, it's John Bell, Bryce Sheldon, Vincent Bryant, Nick Semku, and myself.
And then for Linden, we have...
Linden, it's myself, Vincent Bryant, Sterling Brim, Alana Jade, and Chef John Harris.
Okay, awesome.
Along with a few other people.
Okay, great. So took into account everyone's skill set as well as the relationship. What were the roles that you feel like you had to have in place first in order for this business to be successful?
Well, for just overall, you know, experience in the industry, right, with people in hospitality. That was number one thing.
Doesn't matter if you worked in culinary, but it was more so.
Yeah, no, but for Last Lap, I'll tell you right away, we weren't trying to create a restaurant. Right, that's when you're doing business and that level of hospitality, the numbers need to make sense. For us, we thought liquor and the community and literally just having a safe haven for everyone to really enjoy themselves, you know, and obviously liquor is a big part of that. And we've had many nights in other places where we were making money for other people that honestly don't deserve the culture we've created. So we wanted to take that back and really just say, hey, we can do this for ourselves. You know what I mean? And, you know, along the way, we've added a lot of important pieces to keep the puzzle together.
I love that. Now, okay, so you have your team. Obviously, the next step is capital. And in one of our conversations, you mentioned Last Lap is you guys did fully friends and family rounds. We also discussed, especially in our culture, it's not looked down upon, but your pride hurts a little bit when you have to ask someone for something. And you guys, I'm sure, aren't asking for small numbers. How would you suggest to someone who's trying to raise to tap into their network in a way where they still feel like they're operating with integrity, and in a way where they feel like whoever is investing can ensure that they're getting something out of it as well?
You know, I think this is a case-by-case scenario.
Of course. Right? Yeah, that's fair too. Everyone has a different personality.
You know, and it's also like, you know, you just have to work your butt off to put together the proof of concept that you're trying to execute. For us, the idea of Last Lap was tied into my culture and also a lot of my network and my friends' networks and how we could put that into a space.
How do you quantify that, right? I was just talking about this as like, you know, looking to, obviously I'm not trying to pay out of pocket for this podcast for the entire time. So I know I have the vision and I see how big it can be. How do you translate that and quantify it for people that may not have your same vision?
Well, that's the hardest part. You know, you can't, because there are only certain people that believe in you. And, you know, and then there are the people that have enough money that can be like, I can afford to do this. Right. Very fortunate to have people that believe in us and that could afford to put out a little extra coin to help us, you know, pursue our dreams. You also, the plan has to be locked in tight. You know, the plan, you have to do your research, you have to do your comps, you have to, you know, the neighborhood.
What do you mean by the comps?
You have to do your due diligence on other places with the same square footage and how many drinks how much their drinks cost, how many people are in that space on a Friday night or a Saturday night. Do your numbers. You know, they might be buying 2 drinks. You know, you got 200 people in there. You know, and you want to utilize those numbers so you have backup at least, right? And that's, you know, for me, business 101, where you have to do your, you know, your due diligence and get your comps laid out, and that's a big part of like, what do you see yourself doing at year 1, year 2, year 3? And how are you utilizing different elements of a business, which is, you know, sometimes PR, which is the branding of it, of like your partnerships, strategic partnerships, all those things come into the equation.
Yeah.
And if those are presented correctly and laid out the way that an investor wants to see it, they'll say, yeah, I'll take a risk with you. And it's also about you. I think a lot of it is us selling ourselves and the experience that we've had over the years and the experience those people have had with us over the years.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I was watching, actually, I went to a conference and it was about venture capitalism, and they were saying that they invest in the person versus the idea, because if they feel like that person will get it to the finish line, because that's what it takes at the end of the day.
Execution.
A good idea could be a good idea all day. Okay, awesome. So what was the most exciting offer or acceptance that you've gotten where someone was like, okay, I'm going to give you this amount of money?
We haven't gotten that yet.
Really?
No. It's sad to say this hasn't been a large enough number for me to be like, wow, life has changed. We're still in our mom and pop stage. We're still doing it ourselves.
You would say Last Lap is still in their mom and pop stage?
Yeah, for what it is. Yeah, we haven't.
8 years later,
we haven't done a extra raise for anything. We're doing it the least minimum way we can, so we don't have overhead. So no one's owed more money than they need to be owed.
Yeah.
Like we wanted to do it for ourselves first and foremost. And then see where it takes us.
Awesome. Yeah. That's so interesting that you say that, because I think a lot of people on the outside looking in, they would be like, oh, Last Lap it's the it spot in New York City. And it is. You've had everyone from Tracy Ellis Ross to Rihanna to Keke Palmer in there. Yeah. But yet you would still consider it a mom and pop shop. Now, what would you primarily contribute the success of Last Lap to? Because, and for anyone in the audience who hasn't been to Last Lap yet, it isn't the biggest restaurant, right? And we wouldn't define it as a restaurant, right? I know we kind of had that conversation. It's like a little bit in between.
But I would say it's more of a lounge.
Okay.
A lounge that turns late night into late
night vibes. Late night vibes. But it's a very intimate spot. Not the most square footage, but everyone and their mother will try to get there and will stand on the line and be rejected twice and still wait outside to get in.
Why.
Shout out the security guards.
I don't know why, but yeah.
So what would you contribute that craveability to?
Well, I think it comes, again, like I said before, the product, we do.
What is your product?
Great
is it
drinks.
Food? Oh, it's the drinks.
And a great experience.
But so do hundreds of other restaurants in New York City.
Yeah, but this is the vibe, the atmosphere is all a part of that experience. We definitely have a nostalgic feel. I think for Caribbean Americans, and I think just Black and brown folk, and particularly, and even Latinos and everyone, that when they walk into Last Lap, they feel a nostalgic feel. For me, it was more about representing like that grandmother's home aesthetic that we all me and my partners all agreed on, like having those notes that kind of take you back to a safe space as a child, but also just like when you grow up and you can like hang out for a long time and you don't want to leave, and that's I think we spoke about that earlier, was we had that issue with people not wanting to leave and had to figure out how, like, hey, I guess you got to change the furniture. Like, I got to get some harder stools. That's the, I think what people really buy into is that the music. We definitely have a feel of, when you were in your teens or your early 20s. We're not playing top 50 music. We're not. I don't even know any top 50 song right now. So it's one of those things where it's like, this is the kind of music that I love listening to. And I think a lot of my friends love listening to. And then there's the drinks. Then there's the service. We have, world-class bartenders that are super personable, that are, just everyone knows them just as much as they know me, So that's the importance.
Shout out Easy.
Shout out everybody.
Right.
But they all have their own personality. They all have their own fan base. And I think it's an important part of the culture that we're trying to create there, and educating the clientele on cocktails, one, but also just having a good time the right way.
Yeah. That's amazing. So in response to that, I'm going to read you some testimonials from the people on why they felt like Last
Let me
Lap
have a
is
drink for this one.
successful.
Hold on.
So asked a few people who I personally have considered OG Last Lappers. They won't, but okay. So Jamal Jamo.
Oh, hey.
Yep. One of my OGs. He's the one who actually introduced me to Last Lap.
Oh, I love that.
This was pre-pandemic, of course. And he actually said a quote that maybe I got it from him, but I would always say the same thing where it felt like the Black Cheers, where you go in and everyone knows your name. So,
love that.
Quote, it popped off because the energy and community surrounding it were and are undeniable. New York City hasn't had that one place that felt like Cheers, that wasn't a lounge or a club for a generation raised on nightlife. It wasn't a speakeasy, but there was a definite cool surrounding being in the know about Lap. It was the little spot that everyone felt was their own because at its very root, it is. And then we have Fresco.
I like Ma. That's deep, man. All right, now I gotta soak that one in. If you send that one to me later, so I can remember that forever.
I got you. I'll copy and paste the text.
Oh man, that was good.
I'll copy and paste the text. And now I'm gonna do a little audio one from Fresco.
Oh wow.
He sent the audio note, and there's a particular piece of it that I loved.
Lapsters is like, a group of people that consistently were there and, built community there. Like, I've met people, friends that are now family, we've had just amazing nights. So I say all that to say, with who they were as individuals, what they brought together collectively, it changed nightlife. And they knew about nightlife. They knew, how to operate. They had tons of connections throughout the industry. And that, holds to be true to this day.
What a place is right.
What a place.
Yeah.
You have people doing merch out of their own pocket for Lap.
Yeah. I think it's an identity, right? I'm not going to say it's gang culture, but it is gang culture in the sense that we feel safe around each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's family culture, honestly. Mm-hmm. It's a pride, like a lion,
mm-hmm.
pride.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think, for Fresco, it's someone that I've known for 20 years plus. Mm-hmm. For Mal, he knows where we come from. He saw me get introduced to my business partners, Bryce and Vince, 10 years ago, playing in Nike NFS League, and so that's how I saw them work in their capacity at nightclubs. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, you could work with me. We can work together, mm-hmm. and we can build something that no one's ever seen before, which I think they're mentioning, like, it's not a nightclub. We come from the nightclub world where it was, I'm sick of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really sick of the bottle service, the groups of men just looking and trying to hey, I got 3 bottles. You want to come hang out with me? I'm like, it's weird, dude.
We were sick of it too.
Wow, you could literally now, we're trying to say come go on a date with a lady. The music's not too loud. Now you can converse. Now you can, offer to buy a lady a drink at the bar, or vice versa. I don't know, but I think the biggest difference in what we've done with Last Lap is that we've created a space that is really open for that, and not for that nightlife, bottle service, kind of ego-driven mentality.
Now, how would you say that approach, if at all, differs from your approach to Linden, LA, where the ego's there, I'm sure, times 10? At least, and I'm being stereotypical. I'm a New Yorker, so
yeah. I would say straight up that I think that was my first notion, the stereotypical notion that the egos in Los Angeles are a hot air balloon, right? That there is that, but for what we've created at Linden, I see something completely different. I see what we've done with Lap, mm-hmm. where there is a community building, where there are a lot of like-minded individuals in the same genres of profession, same actors, writers, musicians, regular corporate people, and they want a place to go to. They want a place where everyone knows their name. You know, where the service is impeccable. And now we're actually doing a restaurant out there. I have so much pride in Chef Jonathan Harris and what he's done and his creativity with the menu he's created at Linden. It's out of this world. You know, it's telling a story, it's telling his story, and it's now going to the masses of Los Angeles, and they really have bought into it. Now we have regulars. You know, it's been 8 months now. I can see we got Linster. We got Linsters. I don't know what we're gonna call it.
It's the Linsters. It's the Linsters. So, okay. So that is awesome. How would you say the menu differentiates from what's normally out in LA? Because transparent, like I go to LA often for work.
You got a reservation tomorrow, right?
I do have a reservation tomorrow. I'm really excited. I'm really excited. But my main thing with LA is like, besides the tacos, there's no flavor in the food. Were you, okay, yes, it might be a controversial topic, but I think we can all agree that that's pretty much it. So were you hesitant to kind of go against that grain, or did you feel like that was an opportunity in the market?
No, I think full transparency, we wanted to bring New York to LA. I'll take it a step before Linden. You know, we started with New York strap cheese in Los Angeles, which was the reason of going to Los Angeles a few years ago. And for us to even put the name New York in front of chopped cheese, for people to understand where it's coming from, but to understand who we were and who we are. I think that was the biggest test. You know, having a food truck, my partner Anthony out there, and you know, that's the craziest thing in itself, having a food truck.
I was also going to say it's pretty iconic. Like, you kind of just immortalize the chopped cheese as New York chopped cheese in the same way that it's the Philly cheesesteak. Like, you don't say cheesesteak without saying Philly.
Oh, need a Philly cheesesteak, yeah. Now,
did you just rebrand the chopped cheese to New York chopped cheese?
It wasn't the intention. It was more about, you know, trying to just educate people on it. You know, you know, the first thing Anthony said when he moved out there was, "I can't find a chopped cheese out here," and I was like, "Wow." And I know you need one after, like, you know, 3 hours of drinking.
Right.
And I think a lot of,
but they're normally in bodegas, and they don't have bodegas out there.
No bodegas, and that was the first thing. You know, so how can we fill that void of a bodega? It's pretty hard to do that. You don't want to really just run a bodega in Los Angeles. So the late night sandwich aspect is what we wanted to create, which was that of just it being a chopped cheese with a chicken option, a vegan option, and, you know, some breakfast options as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so you launched New York chopped cheese. When was the moment where you were like, okay, the LA market kind of gets it. Let's see how Linden does?
I think it all happened at the right time.
Awesome.
The space, I think, I tell people this all the time, I think the space chose us. Where New York's chopped cheese is located on Sunset and Tamarind, it's on the side street. There was a restaurant bar on the corner that was struggling. And there was also another lounge on the other side that was completely closed. And the owner of the building, you know, really gave us an opportunity to do something with it. So my partner.
Did you know the owner prior, or?
No, we met him through the space, through chopped cheese.
Okay, got it.
And you know, he gave us an opportunity to do something with the space. So when we all put our minds together, we came up with Linden and the lounge ... next door.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about the menu.
Well, the menu at Linden is, I'll tell you, you know, Chef Jonathan Harris is from Long Island, and Linden Boulevard runs through Long Island, through Queens, through Brooklyn, and through that boulevard you see many cultures and cuisines, and that's really a testament to what Chef John has as a third-generation chef. You know, his dad took him through Linden Boulevard. They tried a lot of restaurants, you know, in all different cultures. So the menu consists of, you know, Italian, Caribbean, South Asian, and everything else that he really comes up with his imagination, you know, that represents what New York cuisine and culture is, which is a melting pot of culture.
It is. We are.
But all the food is amazing. I think we all know as New Yorkers that we all try so many different culturally relevant foods, and we're open to it. That's the idea of what Linden is in Los Angeles, is to bring that idea of trying something new in Los Angeles instead of Mexican food.
I love that for me. So you have the same goal on both coasts, where it's to create a community within the space. However, I feel like community in New York is different than community in LA. Are you taking any of the approaches to LAP to Linden, or are you completely reevaluating the market and doing a completely different approach to create a community there?
I think it's still too soon for us to take a new approach. We have a network out there that is very East Coast based. There's been a lot of transplants from here to over
fair.
there.
Yeah,
And,
that makes sense.
and it's helped us. You know, it definitely hasn't hurt us. It's been there is difference. You know, Los Angeles is very spread out. Not everyone's going to come out every day. You know, and I think our location where we are, it was one of the main things that is going to be like the driving force behind the business.
In West Hollywood.
In Hollywood.
Oh, it's in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. We actually stayed away from West Hollywood.
Why is that?
Because there's too much in West Hollywood.
It's fair.
You know, it's oversaturated. Culturally, we wanted to forecast a new space. And again, it's the space that kind of chose us.
And that's interesting because it's kind of the opposite of the space that you have in Last Lap, or in New York rather, at Last Lap, where Soho is probably, and Lower East Side is one of the most saturated places.
And for us, I mean, honestly, 7 or 8 years ago, Orchard Street historically is a great block, a great street.
Oh, absolutely.
But it has its ups and downs, like most neighborhoods do. We definitely caught Orchard Street in its last decade. We caught it on the way down, on the way up again. So we've been very fortunate to be a part of the resurgence of it.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's the perfect place to be.
It's a beautiful block.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna play a quick game of New York versus LA.
Ooh, shit.
We got some LA natives in the room. Oh my god, spicy. It'll be quick. A quick 6 questions. Rapid fire questions, 1 to 3 word answers. In New York, what's more important, food or ambiance?
Food.
In LA, what's more important, food or ambiance?
Ambiance.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how important are influencers in the New York City market?
6, 7.
For LA?
8, 9.
Do you need more startup costs for New York City or LA?
Los Angeles.
Dang, I want to ask a follow-up question, but I won't because we're in rapid fire. Which market is more fun to start a business in?
It's still too early for me to tell.
Which market is more challenging to start a business in?
New York.
Really? And you had more resources here?
Yeah, but there's a lot of political stuff that you got to go through.
With the city
Community
itself?
board.
So you have to
Liquor
get approvals.
licenses. Less liquor licenses available here in New York.
That makes sense. Because at the top of this, when you said, and we are done with rapid fire questions, but thank you. That was actually interesting. At the top of this, you said it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's more lucrative to do something that is a little bit more liquor based. And in my head, I was curious as to why more places don't have liquor licenses, because it feels like it's such an easy win. But it's because of the license.
Can't get it. No.
Why
a lot of people can just get beer and wine.
Do you know why the board is hesitant?
A lot of community boards are just, especially downtown, you know, there's still residents down here, right, that are long-standing residents that will show up to every meeting, so you won't get a license because there are too many, you know, overly drunken people walking the streets.
Fair enough.
You know, maybe, you know, taking advantage of people's doorways. You know, those are the small things that we don't really see every day. But as an owner, I'm like that person that has to deal with those people.
Yeah.
Those patrons that are taking advantage of the neighbors and littering and loitering and doing too much.
That makes
literally,
sense.
You know, so that's a big part, you know.
Yeah.
And if you're a new owner just trying to do something and you haven't made ties to the community, you're not getting anything. Unfortunately, you have to wait some years.
So you would say your ties to the community is what essentially got you guys over the credit?
Yeah, well, our ties to the community and, you know, ties to the guy that sold us his liquor license.
But you're able to sell someone your liquor license?
Yeah.
Interesting. So you could transfer it, or?
It takes a transfer, a year or so. But
that's a plug right there.
Yeah, but you got to find that.
All right. So staying on the New York and LA topic, are there any emerging trends in either markets that you're excited to tap into?
I am not the one to ask questions about emerging trends.
And this is why we
Very
have
basic.
teams. This is exactly why we have teams.
I'm a white tee bougie guy, you know,
Like, I know
that's my emerging trend.
exactly.
Keep it simple.
I mean, look, Steve Jobs keeps it simple. The smart people know.
I mean, I guess TikTok.
Yeah.
I mean, is that emerging? Am I old now?
No, I would honestly say like more new brands definitely need to tap into TikTok because that's where, unlike Instagram, where it's more so who follows you, TikTok pushes you out to such a wide network to people that aren't familiar with you. So that's where brands can really like.
Well, I'm actually the last lap TikTok on my phone, so I don't even know. I did it just because I did it. I needed to create one.
So you don't post anything?
No. I've reposted some people that have posted us. Yeah, I'm not. We need to get someone to do that. We're again, mom and pop. We're not like too much into that. Like we need to do more of that to get more business. We're still like very neighborhoodly and community based. Like, do we want more? We definitely want more, and we'll get there. I think those are our next steps in the next couple of years. And, you know, becoming less of a mom and pop shop and more of a corporate structure.
Okay, awesome. That makes sense. I love that. So it's funny because you said me, I mean we, but I
meant TikTok.
The TikTok,
it was me, but it's not really me.
But it leads into my next question. Whereas you are the face of Last Lap, unintentionally, right? And because you do have like, quote unquote famous people who are invested, like Michael B. Jordan. Like if you were to Google Last Lap, you'd probably see more of Michael B. Jordan than Scotty. However, when people walk in that door, they're asking for Scotty. So much so that you guys have a drink on the menu.
I didn't approve
called Where's Scotty?
But it makes some money, so I said okay.
And that's my question. Like how would you say the democratization of ownership, how has that helped your business model essentially?
Well, I feel like, again, I'll go back to restaurants that I've seen this work at over years. You know, you look at the Odeons, the Balthazars, even the Frenchettes now, and like those owners and chefs are there every day. They're touching tables. They're saying hello to everyone. There's a certain aspect that I think as a patron, you want to know the person behind the curtain to your favorite place, to your favorite cocktail, favorite meal, to even have a conversation, you know, and get to poke into the lives of someone like that. I'm sure, you know, for me back in the day, that was amazing. You know, especially if you want to be in the industry or even just be around someone, you know, that has that kind of knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that's, again, I've met so many people over the years at Last Stop that wanted to have a conversation with me because they wanted to pick my brain. And that's what really draws me to them. And like, now I have different relationships, you know, even for us, you know, like,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, that's like something where you can be like, oh no, like, let's converse. Let's talk about our jobs. Let's talk about life.
Yeah.
You know, and not many people have, you know, the wherewithal to do that.
You
know?
Absolutely. Yeah. It really is a space where you could just like come in and feel like family, feel like home. So you guys did a really good job with that. Now, I want to ask, because it sounds like at the core of it, what has made it successful is the personalization. And to the point where it's like, I feel exclusive because, you know, Scotty came over and said hi to me. Easy came over and gave me a free shot. As you guys continue to scale, because at the end of the day, every business needs to scale in order to maintain revenue and to grow. How do you balance that with keeping the integrity and that personalization? Because a lot of businesses, I feel like, tend to lose that over time when they scale and try to reach a larger audience and make more money.
Well, I think when we hit that hurdle, I'll try to figure it out as best I can. I think we've done a great job right now with doing that. And I think it's all about passing it down and reinstituting that, you know, this is the kind of community we're building. You know, where it is like, we all know your name. We know your cocktail. As soon as you walk in, they want to give you a hug. You know, they're happy to see you, even if it's every other day that you come. And we have a lot of friends that come every other day, maybe every day. And it's the same thing. So happy to see you. You know, like that's like, it's, for us, it's more of our home than our workplace, because you end up spending a lot of your time there. You know, like a lot of people, just like anyone's 9-to-5 job, you know, you end up spending a lot of time at work, and then you're at home maybe just to rest your eyes.
Yep.
You know,
absolutely.
because you have a social life, you need to go out, all these other things. So same for us. You know, our hours are a little longer, you know, but we definitely, it's a home base.
Yeah.
And when you invite people into your home, they're family. So it becomes a quick family kind of atmosphere where it's like, great to see you. You know what I mean? In terms of growth and that being passed along down for other opportunities, it's already started that way in Linden. You know, I think that's like one of our, you know, marks. You know, especially if we're in the house and people see us, it's that. You know, we're going to touch tables. Chef Jonathan Harris is a part of that vision as well. When he's there, he's touching tables. He's telling his story.
Yeah.
You know, we've definitely promoted
Did you make
that.
sure to implement that, or 100%. He was like, awesome?
But he's natural at it. You know, it wasn't like they didn't have much nudging to do, but it was easy. You know, and like we wanted to incorporate that. This is his story. This is his food. I've definitely helped in the kitchen sometimes, but like I want to learn. This is an opportunity for me to learn the kitchen, which I've always wanted to. It's, you know, I've definitely had my foray bartending and serving, and this is me wanting to know every aspect of the business more and more.
That's awesome. And you mentioned also, like in one of our conversations, that, you know, to that point, you have the ability to do everything within a restaurant. You've done the work, you've put in the hours, and if it comes to it, you will also teach an employee how to do that, even though you are the owner of something. And that approach is really interesting because, you know, according to the NRA, the National Restaurant Association, the restaurant business in particular has almost a 6% employee turnover each month, which is double the turnover of all other industries. It has the most turnover. And Last Stop is kind of known for having the same employees from the start. Like we've mentioned Easy. We mentioned the security guard. How do you keep that retention, and how do you also ensure that they're reflecting the values that you want Last Lap to illustrate?
Well, I think you know, for the long-standing employees that, you know, have been there, you know, from day one, some a little less than day one, some I've known before day one. Again, this is we keep it, I want to say from the jump family, but as soon as you walk in that door, we have to have faith in each other, right? It's very small. It's 3 to 4 people can run that whole place. And that's why sometimes I have to go in there and run circles around them just so they know that, oh, I can work a little harder if he's working this, you know? Not that lead by example, like mentality that I've always had. It's, we can do this together and I'm gonna be there with you, right? No matter what. Passing that on to, you know, our GM, Savannah, passing it on to other people, that we're all here for each other. You know, if we can stick together now and these opportunities that they see coming in now for the future, you know, there are different positions for everyone. You know, this can be something different, hopefully in the next few years, where we are one of those brands that everyone's like, I want to work for them.
What is the most important skill you look for when you're hiring?
Hard work. Like if you work hard and you bust your ass to do everything.
How can you tell that in an interview though?
You can't. You tell with training.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. I don't know you until the first day you show up to work.
Fair.
For training.
Yeah, because you put on a face when you're in an interview.
Yeah,
sitting there
whatever.
with your little button up, like.
Right. Oh yeah, I'll be here your first day.
Right.
Let's see if you really make it. You know, there's a lot of people that don't make their first day.
Really?
A lot of people don't. Because they have this notion of what it is to be there. And then when they know how much work there is, it's like, oh.
So it looks glamorous on the outside.
It looks glamorous. People are having a good time, but everyone that works at Last Lap really works hard because there are not that many of us. And to serve that many people in that small space and to make everyone happy, it's hard. You know?
To give that family one-on-one connection to each person?
Exactly. You know, and not everyone has a good day. You know, a lot of times you have to put on a face to be at work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have a lot of things going on, family or relationships or whatever, but, you know, you got to put that face on at work, you know, and do what the job is.
So I normally like to close out with some fun questions. And then we have some questions that I ask all of my guests.
Okay.
So starting off with the fun, what is your most memorable event or moment that you've had at Last Lap?
I would say the most memorable is our first year anniversary, like the 1 year. Everyone,
what happened
everyone came into town, all the investors and friends, and it was just a party. We did it.
What made it fun about it? Was it the fact that it was 1 year?
It's just 1 year.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, oh, wow, we fucking did it. Like,
but then 2 years or 3 years didn't go that way.
All the years were great, but the first year was the one where we're like, wow, okay, we executed what we came to, you know, like this is something that we set out to do, and we did it. And the first year was amazing. You know, and everyone was just so ecstatic about it. And I just remember that moment.
That's awesome.
We played Heart of the City, and everyone was dancing. You know, a very distinct moment.
I love that. So, no, the way songs can bring you back to a specific
Ain't no love?
place.
Come on now.
Do you consider it ratchet for friends or family to ask for discounts at Lat or Linden or anywhere?
Oh, yeah. I often try to ignore them and walk away.
You're like,
it happens a lot more than you think. And the gall.
There's literally a drink called Where's Scotty? I'm not surprised.
It's just like, okay, maybe I can give you like a shot. Maybe it's cheaper than a discount.
What's the most famous celebrity that's been at Lat?
Well, it's got to be Michael B. Jordan, dude. I don't know who else is there.
Well, you mentioned Rihanna before.
I mean, Rihanna's up there. Yeah, she's up there.
Is Michael B. Jordan over Rihanna? In terms of,
well, I think everyone loves Rihanna. Let's take that back.
Everyone.
Let me let's erase that.
Right.
30
you might
seconds.
have the Navy coming for you.
30 seconds. Erase it. Let's go back. Can you repeat the question?
What's the most famous celebrity that's been at Last Lap?
A lot of famous celebrities. I think the person that knocks it out of the park in terms of her stature and the presence she brings with that is probably Rihanna. She came by early on in our days of, you know, when we were pretty quiet, you know, in those like Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays. She came on a Monday night, and it changed the whole scape of what Last Lap was, that we were now a place where celebrities come on Sundays or Mondays. You know, a real industry vibe, and you never know who's going to show up. Like, last night, Chance the Rapper was there, you know, so it's like, we definitely have that, we can be there on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and like feel a safe space and like have a good time, and you know.
I love the dichotomy of like Chance the Rapper, Rihanna, safe space.
But yeah, you know, like those are like, they carry themselves with such dignity in the community too, that people don't see themselves like fanning out. You know, it's more about like, oh, okay. I mean, some people have more security than others. Let's not get it twisted, but it's not about that. It's more about like, wow, I'm in the same space and I'm meant to be here, kind of vibe, you know?
Was Rihanna on security vibes, or was she like?
Oh yeah. But she's the homie. But like, she has security everywhere she goes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I would too if I was
100%.
Okay, who's your favorite celebrity that you've met at Last Lap?
This is a tough one. This is gonna go. Who is my wow? Been a lot. I'm trying to think.
Champagne problems.
I'm not gonna lie. It was one night. John Morant was there with his dad and his uncle, and we just had a night. Like, we kicked everybody else out. There was a few people there, and we just kind of just talked most of the night.
That's awesome.
And it was like unexpected. I'm like, you know, this young guy. This is before all his, you know, gun allegations and all the things that he was doing in the NBA, but he's just a down to earth person, and his dad has been there with him the whole time, and I was just like in awe of this. You know, he is a young father, so it's like, whoa,
yeah,
maybe my age. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I have no idea, but it felt like he was my age. You know what I mean? Like, but it was like really cool to see the tribe surround this young man, and like, you know, he's the best point guard in the NBA probably. You know, and like, I'm a very big basketball player, fan, and it was just like those people kind of like spark my interest a little more.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a good one. Now, what celebrity surprised you the most because they were so different than what you expected?
I would say Colin Jost,
don't even
SNL.
know
He's
that.
a comedian on
Okay.
SNL. Michael B. Jordan actually had his after party. He was the host of SNL with Lil Baby. So we had the after party at Lap, and I got to talk to him for a minute, and it was pretty cool. Like, you know, you see this person, you know, as a comedian doing skits and just a regular fucking dude, you know? And it was just really, like, to me, I think comedians are the best mark of, like, celebrity that's normal.
I would
You know what I mean? Like,
I would
they're like, oh, okay, you're actually a regular person.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, so yeah, he was pretty cool to even be in Last Lap, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah.
But hey, I'm gonna talk to you.
Right.
You know?
That's awesome. Now, we didn't talk about how you guys got Michael B. Jordan involved.
Well,
Was he in the network?
He's a network. He's a brother.
Okay.
You know,
All
he's
right.
been a part of our little boy band for a while. You know, like you know, but we're a big group, a network of guys that have been in the industry and you know, all tapped in different ways, and you know, obviously all have different jobs. But you know, he's been a supporter and a friend for over a decade.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you feel like with the right network, you can start a business in any industry?
Yes, I think as we've gotten older as well, we've relationships with other business peers.
That's a great
You know,
specification.
like that's like we're meeting more people that are tapped into different industries and are taking interest in what we do and how we can, you know, help mold them, their industry, and vice versa. I think that's the biggest thing is the constant, you know, meeting of new, you know, just people in general. Like,
yeah, that's huge too. And I feel like it is easy. Like once you're in it, it's like a snowball effect. Do you have any suggestions for someone who is like maybe they've moved to New York trying to make it? Where do you kind of tap into these networks authentically?
Well, I think, you know, a mentor is the first place to start. You know, if you want to be in hospitality, if you want to be in media, if you want to be in whatever it is you want to be in, you want to find that mentor where you can honestly ask as many questions as you possibly think of. Right? Ask to do more. I think that's one of my best traits is what can I do more of to learn or to help?
Yeah, I would agree.
You know, and that's taken me further than I've ever thought. You know, and I think that's a testament to who I am, my personality, is that I'm a hard worker. That's what I look for in my employees and my team. It just translates to more and more success.
Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, let's go to our closing questions. We just have a quick 4.
These are probably the harder hitting ones.
No, not really.
Those are fun.
What? One of them. Yeah. One of them. People
If those
get a
were
little
fun,
tripped
Dan,
up on.
fuck.
One of them people get a little tripped up on. Okay. Do you have any daily habits that you abide by in order to keep your daily
Sanity.
life intact? Yeah. Especially because, you know, you approach your business very mindfully, and I would consider America to be probably one of the most capitalistic societies in the world. So how do you balance that, and how do you maintain that on a daily basis?
Well, I agree with you on the capitalist mindset. I think for myself, I can't really speak for my business partners. I try to just think of everyone around me. You know, I think if I like, again, that team mentality of if we all do it together, we can reach a further destination, you know? And for me, it's about just pushing to be the best, you know, and pushing people with me that are my peers, my partners, and the people that are my employees. Like, let's do better. Let's do the best that we can do.
That's awesome. Stanley Lumax of Taringa kind of said the same thing.
For sure.
And I brought up the African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
And that's essentially the concept.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's real line.
Yeah,
there.
that's
Shout to Stan.
Yeah, that's been there for decades.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, what does stability look like for you?
I think it goes back to that happiness conversation, like the true happiness, you know. And we you talk about capitalism, but you know, I think at the end of the day, you know, I've been put into this role of providing too.
As most men in the world are.
Right, but like, like I created businesses that are providing jobs and, and it's definitely something that sticks out of my mind. Like we have to create something that is no bullshit. It's going to stand 20 plus years and create benefits and create these things for people that never thought they would have that, and lives for people that never thought they'd be doing this, which is, I think, is the best part.
And what makes you happy? Because a lot of people wouldn't necessarily describe the entrepreneurial journey as happy.
Doing what I want. Waking up and being like, I don't want to talk to you today or answer this email.
And I don't have to.
I don't have to. Or I should, but, I'm definitely one of those people like, wait, I can get back to you tomorrow? So you're going to wait till tomorrow. I'm very fortunate that I'm, I definitely have put myself in this position. And that's probably the most rewarding thing about
the
that
freedom
I can be freedom, a little more free than most.
That's awesome. Okay, so the definition of purpose is the reason for which something is done or created, or the reason for which something exists. Do you feel like you're living within your purpose?
I think I surpassed that. I mean, I didn't think I would be doing what I'm doing today. I didn't think my purpose in this world was to be doing this.
And what would you say your purpose is exactly?
Now I think I found it. I think my purpose is doing exactly what I'm doing. Creating safe havens and jobs and pushing the culture and educating people on what it means to be, to look like us and to be trying to do some things that not many people can do.
That's beautiful. Now, last question. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who looks like us, who wants to be successful in the restaurant industry, what would you say to them?
Really follow your heart. Find the people that really care about you and ask questions and ask more questions. And just give it your all. You won't fail if you give it your all. That's like, a lot of people don't even try because they're afraid to fail. I failed many times. I failed too many times.
Yeah.
I'm almost 39 now. I'm starting to get some wins. And I think it takes a long time, a lot of hard work, patience, and ups and downs of morale. Now I'm like, we talked about negativity earlier. I kind of keep that away from me now. And negativity comes in all shapes and forms and people and things, time, so you got to take everything with a grain of salt and push the positivity forward. And I tell that to everybody. I tell that to a lot of my workers because, you get frustrated with patrons. You got to take a step back and think about what's great. We got it. We got. So
that's real. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Scotty, so much for telling your story, giving the streets the insight to what it really takes to be successful within this industry. Not many of us do it. The restaurant industry is also probably one of the most unforgiving industries. So it's really immaculate to see people like us who are not only successful in it, but pushing the boundaries and doing it well. So
I appreciate you for having me. Thank you. My first podcast, bitches! Let me take a picture of you. Let me take a picture right there with the mic in front of you. I did a selfie earlier.
Marilyn, thoughts?
All right.
Marilyn's my biggest critic. In the best way.
Was it good?
Yeah, but it's also because she's my longest trusted friend.
Well, you need that.
Over a decade, exactly.
I'm happy you were there for the intro. Because we got to know each other. I'm like, shit. How many years y'all got?
Over a decade now.
That's nice. Really nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
2024, 12.
13.
Because we started 2011. 13. Oh, shit.
No.
We're old. Okay.
Boop, 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 boop.